On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Milton Berle, one of the most influential figures in early television history, passed away on March 27, 2002 at the age of 93. His death, attributed to colon cancer, marked the end of an era for American comedy and entertainment. Known as Mr. Television, Berle played a pivotal role in the medium's early years, bringing vaudeville-style humor to millions of households in a way that shaped the future of televised comedy. His passing served as a reminder of television's evolution from a novelty to a cultural mainstay. Berle rose to prominence in the 1940s and 1950s, a time when television was still in its infancy. His show, Texaco Star Theater, was a massive success, effectively cementing him as the first true television star. He became a household name, influencing future comedians with his slapstick humor, rapid-fire delivery, and larger-than-life persona. However, as television evolved and comedy styles changed, Berle found himself struggling to adapt. His later career was marked by nostalgia for the golden age of television, and his death symbolized the final departure of one of the industry's founding figures. The immediate consequences of his passing were an outpouring of tributes from the entertainment world. Fellow comedians and actors, including Sid Caesar, Bob Hope, and Jerry Lewis, honored his contributions to comedy and television. While Berle had long since faded from the forefront of popular entertainment, his death reminded the world of the foundations upon which modern television was built. His passing also reinforced his legend. The golden age of television had already become a subject of cultural nostalgia, and Berle's death only heightened the appreciation for the pioneers of the medium. His influence on future generations of comedians, from stand-up performers to sitcom actors, was undeniable, and his work continues to be studied as an essential part of television history. Berle's death, like his life, reflected the evolving nature of entertainment and fame. He thrived in a time when television was a shared experience, a communal event where families gathered around a single screen. His passing underscored how much had changed. By 2002, entertainment had fragmented into countless channels, streaming services, and individualized experiences. Yet, despite the shifts in technology, the core of comedy remained unchanged, and Berle's contributions still resonate. We immortalize figures like Berle through retrospectives, documentaries, and archival footage. His influence is evident in the comedians who followed him, many of whom cite him as an inspiration. While television continues to evolve, his pioneering role in shaping the medium ensures that his legacy endures. In laughter, in history books, and in the echoes of classic television, Milton Berle remains a cornerstone of entertainment. Dudley Moore, the beloved British actor, comedian, and musician, passed away on March 27, 2002, at the age of 66. His death was the result of complications from progressive supranuclear palsy, a rare and degenerative brain disorder that affects movement, speech, and cognition. The circumstances of his passing reflected both the fragility of human health and the tragic decline of a once vibrant entertainer whose career had spanned comedy, film, and music. Moore rose to fame in the 1960s as part of the British comedy scene, particularly with Beyond the Fringe, a satirical stage revue that revolutionized modern comedy. Later, he became an international film star with roles in 10, 1979, and Arthur, 1981, which cemented his reputation as a leading comedic actor. His charming, self-deprecating humor and diminutive stature made him an unlikely yet endearing Hollywood star. However, as the 1990s progressed, his health deteriorated and his once expressive comedic timing was cruelly stripped away by PSP. His illness and subsequent passing were met with sadness and admiration for his legacy. At the time, PSP was relatively unknown to the public, and Moore's battle with the disease brought increased awareness to this rare neurological condition. His death underscored the vulnerability of even the most vibrant performers, serving as a stark contrast to the carefree and humorous persona he had cultivated throughout his career. The immediate response to his passing included tributes from the entertainment world, particularly from those who had worked with him in both Britain and Hollywood. Fans remembered him not only for his comedy, but also for his remarkable musical talent. Moore was an accomplished jazz pianist who had studied at Oxford. His ability to blend wit with genuine artistry was a rare gift, making his loss all the more poignant. Moore's death did not necessarily shift the trajectory of history, but it did amplify his legend. While his later years had been marked by illness, his passing led to renewed appreciation for his contributions to comedy and cinema. In the years since, his films, particularly Arthur, have remained cultural touchstones, and his influence can be seen in modern comedic performances that balance humor with depth and vulnerability. His legacy endures through film retrospectives, comedy history, and musical recordings. Like many comedic greats, his work continues to bring joy long after his passing, reminding us of the power of humor to transcend even the most tragic circumstances. Moore's life and death highlight the intersection of comedy and fragility, how laughter, even from the brightest stars, can be tempered by the realities of human mortality. Yet, through his work, Moore remains immortal, his spirit preserved in the laughter he left behind. Joseph Lieberman, a longtime U.S. Senator and vice presidential candidate, passed away on March 27, 2024, at the age of 82 due to complications from a fall. His death was natural, yet reflective of the vulnerabilities that come with aging, particularly among individuals who have spent decades in demanding public service. While not a shocking or tragic end, his passing nonetheless marked the conclusion of an era in American politics, one defined by his commitment to bipartisanship and centrism. Lieberman was best known for his role as Al Gore's running mate in the 2000 presidential election, making history as the first Jewish American on a major party's national ticket. Throughout his career, he occupied a unique space between political parties, sometimes frustrating progressives while earning the respect of conservatives. His approach to governance, which prioritized compromise over partisan loyalty, reflected a political climate that was shifting toward increasing polarization. His death underscored the diminishing presence of figures who straddled ideological divides as modern politics became more entrenched in partisan conflicts. In the immediate aftermath of his passing, leaders from both sides of the aisle paid tribute to Lieberman's lifelong dedication to public service. Many acknowledged his role in shaping key legislative efforts, such as the creation of the Department of Homeland Security and his advocacy for strong foreign policy measures. The bipartisan nature of the mourning period highlighted the respect he commanded and reignited discussions about the role of moderate voices in contemporary politics. His passing did not drastically alter the course of history, but it did serve as a reminder of a bygone political era where compromise was more common. Lieberman's death raises larger questions about how public figures are remembered. In his lifetime, he was both celebrated and criticized for his centrist stance. In death, he became a symbol of a political philosophy that is increasingly rare in the United States. His legacy continues through retrospectives on his career, discussions in political circles, and even film. His life story was captured in a documentary that premiered shortly before his passing. The way Lieberman is memorialized reflects society's evolving relationship with leadership and legacy. Figures like him are often reassessed through the lens of changing political climates, and while he may not have always been universally admired, his commitment to public service remains an enduring part of his story. His passing serves as a reminder that political figures, no matter how divisive or unifying, are ultimately defined by the lasting impact of their choices. Ian Dury, the British singer, songwriter, and frontman of Ian Dury and the Blockheads, passed away on March 27, 2000, at the age of 57 due to complications from colorectal cancer. His death was natural, yet marked by the struggles of an era in which cancer, despite medical advancements, remained a devastating and often terminal diagnosis. Dury had been battling the disease for years, undergoing multiple treatments while continuing to work, embodying the punk ethos of resilience and defiance that defined his music and persona. Dury's passing was not just the loss of a musician, but the departure of a cultural icon who had shaped the British punk and new wave movements. As someone who had contracted polio as a child and lived with a disability, he was a voice for the marginalized and an advocate for those who felt like outsiders. His lyrics, filled with sharp wit, social critique, and working-class poetry, resonated with a generation that sought authenticity and rebellion in an era dominated by polished, mainstream music. His death highlighted how punk, once a radical and disruptive force, had aged alongside its pioneers, evolving from a movement of youth-driven rebellion into an enduring musical and cultural influence. The immediate reaction to Dury's death was one of profound sadness among fans and fellow musicians. Tributes poured in from across the music industry, celebrating his contribution to British music and his ability to blend humor with sharp social observations. His final album, Mr. Love Pants, 1998, was seen as a testament to his creative spirit, and in the years following his passing, his work continued to be celebrated through tributes, re-releases, and even a biographical film, Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, 2010. Dury's death also reignited conversations about representation in music. As an artist who refused to let his disability define or limit him, he became an inspiration for future generations of musicians and advocates for disability rights. His influence extended beyond music, shaping broader discussions about inclusivity in the arts. In the grander scheme of history, Dury's legacy is one of perseverance, individuality, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity. His death, like his life, reflected punk's defiance of convention and its insistence on making space for voices that did not conform. He remains immortalized not only through his music, but also through the lasting impact of his lyrics, which continue to inspire new generations to challenge norms and embrace their uniqueness. Stéphane Audran, the celebrated French actress known for her enigmatic screen presence and collaborations with director Claude Chabrol, passed away on March 27, 2018, at the age of 85. Her death was due to a long illness, marking the end of an era in French cinema where she had been a defining figure in the 1960s and 1970s. Audran's passing reflected not only the inevitable departure of the icons of European cinema's golden age, but also the shifting landscape of film, where classic art house traditions were increasingly overshadowed by modern filmmaking trends. Audran was best known for her performances in films such as Le Boucher, 1970, Les Biches, 1968, and the Academy Award-winning Babette's Feast, 1987. Her cool, mysterious, and often detached screen persona embodied a distinctly European sophistication, reflecting the intellectual and psychological depth of the films she starred in. Her frequent roles in psychological dramas and thrillers aligned with the anxieties of post-war France, where filmmakers sought to explore the underlying tensions of bourgeois life. The immediate reaction to her passing was one of mourning among cinephiles, fellow actors, and critics who recognized her contributions to French and international cinema. Tributes from the film community underscored her influence, particularly in shaping the female archetype in Chabrol's films, often women trapped in oppressive social structures, revealing the darker complexities beneath seemingly perfect lives. Her performances provided a window into the cultural and moral dilemmas of her time, making her an enduring figure in film history. Audran's legacy has been cemented through retrospectives, re-releases of her films, and continued scholarly discussions on her collaborations with Chabrol and other European auteurs. Her ability to convey inner turmoil with restraint and elegance has influenced countless actresses and directors, ensuring her work remains relevant beyond her passing. In reflecting on her death, it becomes evident that figures like Audran do not simply fade away, but continue to live on through their art. Her career serves as a reminder of cinema's power to capture the essence of an era, preserving emotions, social critiques, and artistic visions long after an artist is gone. Through the immortal medium of film, Audran's presence endures, her performances forever etched into the history of cinema. Ralph Bates, the British actor best known for his work in horror films and television dramas, passed away on March 27, 1991, at the age of 51. His death was due to pancreatic cancer, a cruel and aggressive disease that cut short the life of a performer who had established himself as a unique presence in the entertainment world. His passing marked the end of an era for those who had grown up watching the gothic horror films of Hammer Studios, where Bates had become a prominent figure in the 1970s. Bates was often cast as the suave, intellectual villain or the tragic anti-hero, roles that reflected a changing landscape in British horror cinema. The traditional monsters of the 1950s and 1960s, Dracula, Frankenstein's creature, and the Mummy, were giving way to more psychologically complex and morally ambiguous figures. Bates, with his sharp features and refined demeanor, was a natural fit for this shift. Films such as Taste the Blood of Dracula, 1970, The Horror of Frankenstein, 1970, and Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, 1971, showcased his ability to bring depth and sophistication to roles that might otherwise have been straightforward horror archetypes. Beyond his contributions to horror cinema, Bates also made a mark in television, particularly with his role in the British sitcom Dear John, 1986 to 1987. His versatility allowed him to transition between drama and comedy with ease, demonstrating his broad range as an actor. His death was a significant loss to British television and film, as he was still an active performer when he fell ill. The immediate response to Bates's passing was one of sorrow from fans of Hammer horror and British television. While he may not have reached the same level of mainstream fame as some of his contemporaries, his work was deeply appreciated by genre enthusiasts. His death came at a time when Gothic horror was experiencing a resurgence in popularity, with a new generation rediscovering the classics of Hammer films. Bates's legacy has endured through the cult status of his films, many of which continue to be celebrated in horror retrospectives and film festivals. His portrayal of morally ambiguous and charismatic characters remains influential, demonstrating the enduring appeal of classic Gothic storytelling. In examining Bates's death, one is reminded of the fleeting nature of artistic careers and the lasting impact of a performer's work. While his life was tragically cut short, his performances remain immortalized on screen, ensuring that his presence continues to haunt and inspire audiences. Through film, literature, and ongoing discussions about the golden age of British horror, Ralph Bates remains a vital part of cinematic history. Anita Colby, once known as the Face of the 1940s, passed away on March 27, 1992, at the age of 77. Her death was due to natural causes, marking the quiet end of a life that had once been at the center of Hollywood glamour and advertising brilliance. While she may not have had the same name recognition as some of her contemporaries, Colby played a significant role in shaping the image of the modern American woman in the mid-20th century. Colby first gained fame as a model, where her striking beauty and confident persona made her one of the highest-paid fashion models of her time. She later transitioned into Hollywood, where she worked both in front of and behind the camera, notably as a consultant for Selznick International Pictures. At a time when Hollywood was not just about movies, but also about carefully crafted public images, Colby's role as a feminine director was revolutionary. She helped shape the careers and public personas of rising stars, understanding that image was just as important as talent in the entertainment industry. Her death in the early 1990s came at a time when the glamour of old Hollywood was giving way to a more raw and unfiltered approach to celebrity culture. The values of her era, poise, elegance, and the meticulous construction of a public persona, stood in contrast to the grunge and authenticity movements that were gaining traction in the 1990s. Colby's passing symbolized the end of an age when beauty and elegance were marketed as the ultimate form of power for women in entertainment. The immediate impact of her death was not widely felt in the mainstream media, as she had largely stepped away from the public eye in her later years. However, within the fashion and film industries, her legacy continued through the stars she helped shape and the marketing strategies she pioneered. In many ways, her influence can still be seen in the way celebrities are carefully branded today, blending charisma with calculated presentation. Anita Colby's life and death remind us of the ever-changing standards of beauty, fame, and influence. While her own star may have faded with time, her contributions to the world of fashion and film continue to be recognized by historians and enthusiasts of classic Hollywood. Her image endures in the countless advertisements and photographs that captured her in her prime, a testament to the way we immortalize figures of beauty and style. Through archival footage, biographies, and retrospectives on Hollywood's golden age, Colby's legacy remains part of the ongoing conversation about the power of image in shaping cultural history. Warren Stevens, a prolific character actor best known for his role in the 1956 science fiction classic Forbidden Planet, passed away on March 27, 2012 at the age of 92. His death was due to natural causes, marking the end of a long and varied career that spanned Hollywood's golden age, the rise of television, and the evolution of genre filmmaking. Stevens' passing reflected the inevitable transition of an era in entertainment. By the time of his death, Hollywood had long moved away from the studio system that had shaped his early career. The science fiction genre in particular had evolved dramatically, moving beyond the stylized futurism of the 1950s to the gritty realism and CGI-heavy productions of the 21st century. His death served as a reminder of the origins of cinematic science fiction, a genre that had once been experimental and ambitious in an entirely different way. The immediate consequences of his passing were largely felt within the entertainment community. While not a household name, Stevens had earned deep respect among film and television historians, as well as sci-fi enthusiasts who revered Forbidden Planet as a groundbreaking work. His death was acknowledged in retrospectives on classic cinema and television, as he had appeared in numerous iconic series, including Star Trek, The Twilight Zone, and Bonanza. His contributions to film and television, though often supporting in nature, left a lasting impression on the genres he frequented. Stevens' death did not necessarily amplify his legend in the way that more high-profile actors' passings often do, but it did serve as an opportunity for audiences to revisit and appreciate his body of work. The continued admiration for Forbidden Planet and his appearances in classic TV shows ensured that his legacy would endure, particularly within fan communities devoted to classic Hollywood and vintage science fiction. His passing also highlighted a broader truth about mortality, memory, and the nature of fame. Many actors, particularly character actors like Stevens, contribute significantly to the cultural landscape without achieving superstar status. However, their work lives on through the films and shows that continue to be rediscovered by new generations. Stevens is immortalized through the preservation of classic cinema, documentaries about Hollywood's past, and fan conventions dedicated to sci-fi and television history. His life and death remind us that legacy in entertainment is not solely about stardom, but about the enduring impact of the stories brought to life on screen. Farley Granger, the Hollywood actor best known for his roles in Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, 1948, and Strangers on a Train, passed away on March 27, 2011, at the age of 85, due to natural causes. His death marked the end of a career that spanned decades, reflecting both the golden age of Hollywood and the changing landscape of the film industry. Granger's passing came at a time when many of the classic film stars of the mid-20th century had already faded from public consciousness, with only dedicated film historians and cinephiles keeping their legacies alive. His career had taken a unique trajectory. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he stepped away from Hollywood at the height of his fame, preferring the artistic freedom of theater and television over the rigid studio system. His death symbolized not only the end of an era, but also the transient nature of stardom. The immediate consequences of Granger's passing were largely centered around tributes from the film community, particularly among fans of Hitchcock's work. While he had not maintained the same level of fame as some of his contemporaries, his performances in Rope and Strangers on a Train remained highly regarded. His death prompted retrospectives on classic film channels and discussions about his impact on psychological thrillers. Granger's career choices and eventual death reflected broader shifts in Hollywood. As an actor who had experienced both the studio-controlled system of the 1940s and the more independent creative landscape of later decades, he represented the tension between commercial success and artistic integrity. His decision to leave Hollywood in favor of stage acting and European cinema reflected the struggles that many actors of his generation faced, balancing personal fulfillment with industry expectations. His passing also underscored the way Hollywood remembers its stars. Unlike megastars whose images are continuously revived in pop culture, character-driven actors like Granger often fade from mainstream memory, only to be rediscovered by new generations of film enthusiasts. However, his presence in Hitchcock's most famous films ensures a form of cinematic immortality. Strangers on a Train, in particular, remains a cornerstone of the thriller genre, securing Granger's legacy in film history. Granger's life and death serve as a reminder of the fleeting nature of fame and the enduring power of great storytelling. While Hollywood's biggest icons are often enshrined in museums, biopics, and documentaries, actors like Granger live on through their work itself, each new viewing of Strangers on a Train bringing his talent back to life for another generation. Farley Granger, the Hollywood actor best known for his roles in Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, 1948, and Strangers on a Train, passed away on March 27, 2011, at the age of 85, due to natural causes. His death marked the end of a career that spanned decades, reflecting both the golden age of Hollywood and the changing landscape of the film industry. Granger's passing came at a time when many of the classic film stars of the mid-20th century had already faded from public consciousness, with only dedicated film historians and cinephiles keeping their legacies alive. His career had taken a unique trajectory. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he stepped away from Hollywood at the height of his fame, preferring the artistic freedom of theater and television over the rigid studio system. His death symbolized not only the end of an era, but also the transient nature of stardom. The immediate consequences of Granger's passing were largely centered around tributes from the film community, particularly among fans of Hitchcock's work. While he had not maintained the same level of fame as some of his contemporaries, his performances in Rope and Strangers on a Train remained highly regarded. His death prompted retrospectives on classic film channels and discussions about his impact on psychological thrillers. Granger's career choices and eventual death reflected broader shifts in Hollywood. As an actor who had experienced both the studio-controlled system of the 1940s and the more independent creative landscape of later decades, he represented the tension between commercial success and artistic integrity. His decision to leave Hollywood in favor of stage acting and European cinema reflected the struggles that many actors of his generation faced, balancing personal fulfillment with industry expectations. His passing also underscored the way Hollywood remembers its stars. Unlike megastars whose images are continuously revived in pop culture, character-driven actors like Granger often fade from mainstream memory, only to be rediscovered by new generations of film enthusiasts. However, his presence in Hitchcock's most famous films ensures a form of cinematic immortality. Strangers on a Train, in particular, remains a cornerstone of the thriller genre, securing Granger's legacy in film history. Granger's life and death serve as a reminder of the fleeting nature of fame and the enduring power of great storytelling. While Hollywood's biggest icons are often enshrined in museums, biopics, and documentaries, actors like Granger live on through their work itself, each new viewing of Strangers on a Train bringing his talent back to life for another generation. Yuri Gagarin, the first human to journey into space, met his untimely death in a tragic accident on March 27, 1967, when his MiG-15 jet crashed during a routine training flight. His death was an accidental one, but it occurred under circumstances that reflected both the era's high stakes in the space race and the dangers inherent in the nascent field of aerospace exploration. Gagarin's death at just 34 years old came at a time when the Soviet Union was still basking in the glory of his pioneering spaceflight in 1961, a moment that marked a pinnacle of Soviet achievement during the Cold War. At the time of his death, Gagarin had become a global symbol of Soviet triumph and human achievement, embodying both the values of his nation and the audacious dreams of space exploration. His flight into orbit was more than a scientific achievement. It was a political and ideological victory for the USSR over the United States. However, despite the fame and recognition, his death in the prime of his life highlighted the risks and challenges of the era. The Soviet space program was in its early stages, and many of its astronauts, including Gagarin, faced high-risk conditions in uncharted technological territories. The tragic crash of Gagarin's jet, while on a seemingly routine mission, symbolized the perils of the era's technological advancements. The immediate consequences of Gagarin's passing were felt deeply in the Soviet Union and beyond. His death created a void, as he was not only a national hero, but also a symbol of Soviet unity and progress. The Soviet government, ever concerned with controlling its narrative, downplayed the circumstances surrounding his death, keeping the exact details vague for many years. Still, the world mourned the loss of a man who had captured the imaginations of millions. His death also amplified the sense of loss in the space race, casting a shadow on the future of Soviet space exploration. Despite the tragic nature of his death, Gagarin's legend continued to grow in the years following his passing. His sacrifice in the name of exploration served as a testament to the dangers faced by pioneers of his time. His image, preserved in art, literature, and statues across the globe, has immortalized him as a symbol of human perseverance and the quest to reach beyond our limits. The ways in which we commemorate figures like Gagarin, through memorials and cultural representations, speak to humanity's deep need to honor those who, through their lives and deaths, embody our collective ambitions and dreams. Gagarin's legacy lives on as a testament to the spirit of adventure and the relentless pursuit of the unknown.